to the best thing I saw today. Really, it's the first 12-minute performance from that man, Luka Doncic. His average after a loss, over 34 points per game, the most in NBA history with at least 10 games. Early on, step back, and the Nets were ripping. Little step back again. Bucket, he's already got 10 points. It's 22-18. Luka again. Up to 14, and he's already woofing at anybody and everybody. A minute later, Luka, give me all three of these. Up to 17 points, and you could just feel what he was feeling, which was, this is my night. How about three more? Now he's just roaring. Swagger on infinity. 20 in the first quarter, 8 of 11. Timberwolves had just 19 in the first quarter. The Mavs built a 35-19 lead after the quarter. Mavericks up 20. Woo-woo-woo! This is no good at all. Derek Lively, the second, hit in the head by Naz Reid. And, of course, Lively missed a game because he had taken an inadvertent knee to the head earlier in the series. Flagrant one on Reid. Lively able to stay in the game. Doncic, again, bottoms. He's up to 25, and he did not do it alone. They've got 64. Kyrie was in his bag as well. That's pure. He had 15 in the second quarter. The Mavericks lead is 29. They're down 29. What difference does any of it make? Karl-Anthony Towns gets it down into the corner. Shot clock violation. Great defense as well. That was not on Tim Legler's bingo card in past years, but it's something that's a strength now. Doncic again. Probing the defense. This is three the hard way. He's dominating. I'm not sure if this specific comment was directed at Snoop, but Snoop and our guy Jimmy Jam, he's like, oh, Jimmy Jam said, oh, wow. Yeah. I don't know if Snoop could smoke in the building, but he might have broke out the good stuff. It was bad for the home team. Kyrie up to 24. You wondered how close could the Timberwolves get it? Well, 22, and that represented a pretty big chunk of the deficit that they'd whittled into, but Doncic has got 33 through 3. They're going to the finals. Kyrie for the third time. Kyrie up to 36 in the game. Then Doncic, one more time, step back. Oh, that's that kind of night. Banks it in, well, sometimes, yeah. Luka, 36, 10, and 5. And the Dallas Mavericks roar into the NBA Finals. Tim Legler is with us. Let's couch the Minnesota conversation for the moment. I think Coach Finch makes some good points. I mean, they beat Phoenix. They beat Denver in 7 at Denver. I mean, there's some accomplishments here, but they got worked in this game. Let's talk about the team that worked them, that's got at least 4 more games left in its season, maybe 5, 6, 7 in the NBA Finals, the Dallas Mavericks. And let's start in that first quarter.
Yeah.
I don't have a question. Just go ahead and tell me what you'd like to say about that first quarter.
Oh, Chris Finch said it. Luka put his stamp on it. I'll say it in a different way. You know, if this was a boxing match, you know, and that bell dings, you know, there was no feeling out process.
Haymakers.
You know? Yeah, we're not going to come out and kind of see what you have. This was Luka Doncic coming out with a laser-like precision. And I said to you at the end of the quarter, that looked a lot like a Klay Thompson-type quarter with the ball coming off his fingertips the way that it was. The rotation, the arc, everything was perfect. The ball barely hitting anything, shot after shot. It shows you what the best offensive player in the league looks like when he raises his level of concentration to this extent. And understanding the seriousness of the moment, if they didn't lose this game, like the anxiety building to now have only one home game left in the series. I think that was important for Luka to come out and tell his entire team, I'm here tonight. Everything's going to be just fine, because there is no answer for him, Scott, when he's making deep shots to the extent that he was at the beginning of this game.
No, and I think you make a great point, because we've seen him impact the game over and over in so many different ways. But the way he was hunting shots and just as a shooter, when it's going through the rim the way it is, where the net's not even rippling a little bit, like how does that fuel your desire to just continue hunting those shots?
You saw it, and you saw like he was inviting pressure at half court because he knew like if I could just put you, which I will, in my rearview mirror real quick, I'm going to get to a spot either going off to the right or to the left or just pull up straight at the line. I just need space, knowing that. When you pick them up that far out on the court, the big is probably back somewhere inside that three-point line.
Right.
And that was happening to Minnesota a little bit. And when Luka got rolling to the extent that he did, look, he's one of these guys, Scott, he's different than a lot of scorers in this league who do come out and feel the game for 5 or 6 minutes. Like every night they do that. Luka never does that. Luka comes out, and what he says to his team is, well, I'm going to dip my toe in the water first. And let's just see how that feels, because if I get going, now it's a problem that the other team is not going to be able to overcome. Right. And I feel like he tested every night, but I haven't seen it like this pure, this early in a game, and maybe all year for Luka Doncic.
This wasn't the toe in the water. This was cannonballs off the roof in the deep end, man.
Yeah, I thought you talk about our leaders. Luka came out and set the tone. Offensively and defensively, I thought he let everybody know he was ready to play, and so I thought we followed his lead. I thought again for a half we played at a high level, and in the third quarter I thought we continued to play there, and we continued to keep our lead. And I thought again Luka was able to be aggressive, and then Kai joined the party, and when those two are going. I thought, again, for them to come back after maybe in Game 4, those two responded at a high level, and they carried us tonight. But a great team effort, incredible to be atop the Western Conference. Minnesota is well coached. They're a really good team, and we're just happy to be able to represent the Western Conference in the finals.
First and foremost, congratulations to the Mavericks. They won this series, they earned this series, they deserve this series. So congrats to them and their entire staff. And they were led by two world-class players that played at a world-class level. And to answer your question, Luka came out tonight, put his stamp on the game. Hit a couple bomb threes that kind of gotten them really loosened up. And then, offensively, we were kind of never really settled in. Their physicality bothered us. And so the game kind of slipped away from us in the first quarter when we missed a lot of easy stuff, went one-on-one too early, just kind of got busted out of any kind of offensive structure, and then we couldn't get stopped. So that was the game.
Seems like people believe that younger team have to go through these before you can get. Do you believe that was the case, where guys just not quite as ready for the moment as?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some of that, but we had chances early on in this series to make it, more of an even series. And there was probably going to be one of these games in this series, one direction or another, and tonight for us it went against us in a big way. So.
Chris, where do you think the biggest moment of growth, or the thing that you'll take away from this team that you'll feel best about reflecting on the entire postseason run up to this point?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think as every series goes along, like it just gets to another level of execution, another level of fitness, another level of readiness, another level of closing quarters, like everything becomes a little more heightened every series that you go through. So I think that's the biggest thing for us.
And how can you guys as a group use this as kind of a building block to, create a new standard for yourselves? Yeah,
we for that, certainly want to look at the season-long performance as well as anything that happened in the playoffs. Certainly, take from what we learned here and the lessons that we were taught, but try to figure out some things that might kind of be red flags moving forward. But yeah, you got to start back at square one when the season starts. You can't skip any steps. The West is going to be a monster next year, as it continues to be every year. So, but there was a lot of things we did well this year. Super proud of our guys.
They also had another guy that had 36
That's
points.
right, yeah.
A guy with finals experience, a guy who Luka told me the other night, I'm just glad he plays on our team. Kyrie, when Luka took that brief breather, late first, early second, I always get the minutes when it happened confused. But I know I'm not confused that Kyrie did whatever he wanted, the handles, the shot making. What are we seeing in terms of his ability also to impact in concert with Luka?
Their ability to now intertwine their games. That's the difference with the Dallas Mavericks.
Superpowers, right?
That's it. I mean, and it's a perfect mesh. And that was not the case last year. And it's hard to insert somebody next to Luka Doncic that plays that particular style. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Obviously, the way their season ended last year was very disappointing. A lot of people gave up on that, wrote it off. They needed to see some differences. I think Kyrie Irving had a different approach mentally to this season, and he did, and he embraced it. And you can just see their personal relationship has grown throughout the year. There's a lot of trust, a lot of respect that Luka Doncic has for Kyrie Irving and that talent level. And right now, the game is pretty easy for them because there's the ebb and flow is perfect, Scott. There's nobody overly deferential anymore, which I thought was the problem a little bit last year.
That's interesting. Kyrie's going to join us here in just a bit to discuss all of it. And just, I mean, you think of the journey and you think of what it requires. I think we all are allowed to grow into roles that maybe are different, and maybe we were one thing at one point, but now we're just as happy to be something else, like a 1A to the 1 or the 1 to the 1A. It doesn't seem like it matters. Look, we both get 36, and guess what? We both get to eat, and now we both get to go to the finals. Yeah. I think we're all allowed to grow, and we all ought to be patient, I suppose. We don't do that great in this business.
Kyrie Irving has been a player that has been admired by everybody for his talent level his entire career. I think there's a whole nother level to this now with Kyrie Irving and the admiration people have for him for how hard he has been competing defensively, the joy with which he is playing, the way he has meshed with Luka, which I said is not necessarily the easiest thing for a high-volume scorer, the way that Luka plays, and yet Kyrie Irving has embraced all of it. And the way that these two guys are playing, particularly in this series, it was literally perfect basketball offensively between two backcourt guys that can dominate you in different ways. And I think it's just been so fun for me to watch Kyrie Irving enjoying himself this much and playing this well, because he can do things on a basketball court few others of his generation have been able to do. And now it's on full display in a winning environment next to another guy that's an equal superstar.
In this week where we were sitting here the other night talking about Bill Walton and that word joy that he lived his life with, there's a joy to Kyrie playing this year that hasn't been there. And I look forward to asking him about that. And he'll join us here in a bit. In the meanwhile, we're going to hear from Anthony Edwards in just a moment. 36-36. That's pretty good. Hey, PJ Washington, I had a dozen. They're the second pair of teammates to each have 30-point games in the same series, 3 different games. They join a pretty nice duo, Elgin Baylor and Jerry West, who did so twice in the 1960s. Anthony Edwards, a guest during that Phoenix series, said he hadn't done anything yet. Well, now they have. They've won a couple of series, but now it's come to an end with a loss to Dallas. His thoughts on the playoff run.
You know, it's a lot of our guys' first time being in this light. So, especially me, it's my first time. So we'll be ready, man. We'll be all right. First time, took a loss. Congratulations to the Mavericks, and we'll be back. We'll be all right.
This is the last. This is the last time we're going to get to talk to you before the offseason here. So as you kind of maybe reflect on your season this year, where did you make the biggest growth, do you feel like, in your game over the course of the season?
Just being able to read the floor. Not get as mad when teams double me and put 2 on me because I know my guys out there are going to knock it down. And just trusting my teammates.
And obviously disappointing loss in this series, but what do you take away from the successful postseason run that you guys had, especially the momentum after the first 2 series?
There's a lot of things to take away. I think the main thing is our identity, and we hung our hats on defense. I think we got a little away from that a little bit this series, and it showed. Because we're not the best offensive team. We always depend on our defense. So I think that's the main thing we take away from this playoff run is that we're a defensive team, and we got to start there every night.
And your first real deep playoff run, how much did you enjoy just what playoff basketball has to bring?
It's fun, man. I love it. I wish we could still play. I wish we was going back to Dallas for Game 6. But those guys came out and they competed at a high level. And like I said, man, big shout out to them. But it's super fun, and I'm looking forward to being back right in this situation next year.
Thoughtful, talented, charismatic young man. A lot to like there. Not a lot to like if you're Minnesota on this graphic. 1 of 5 teams this season to win 30 games at home. The postseason, a completely different story. At home, in the playoffs, 3 and 5. They scored fewer points and allowed more than they did in the regular season still. And, you know, you do these morning shows a lot now, which is great. You know, they figured out there's the smartest guy we got in our whole joint talking basketball is this man. And so I'm going to give you a little morning hot take talk right here.
Okay.
The best player in this series is who? In the NBA Finals?
Luka Doncic. Luka. He's the guy. There's no answer for Luka Doncic. I don't think he's really affected by the personnel you throw at him. And Boston's got plenty of it. They got a lot of versatility there. Luka Doncic controls the game unlike any other player in the NBA.
Whose legacy has the most? All right, wait. I slipped. Forget it. Back to what we do here. I agree with you. Who's Boston put on him?
Jaylen Brown has the best physical profile to guard him. Now, they've got guys. Drew Holiday, obviously. Derek White. I just think when you put smaller type guards, and those guys aren't little by any means, but Luka Doncic is legitimately 6'8". He's as wide as a refrigerator. He hits you with his shoulder in your chest, and air leaves your body because you back up and give ground, and he steps away from you to create separation. Right. Jaylen Brown has the length and the physical brawn that you need to be able to dig in and not give ground, but still have enough size to contest him. Problem with that is Luka is very good at drawing fouls. Do you want Jaylen Brown to pick up 2 fouls in the first 6 minutes of a game because he bites on a couple of head fakes? That's the tough one. The great thing about Boston is, Scott, they've got a lot of different guys that they can throw at him to do an adequate job. Okay, but Dallas, and hey, great that they're focusing on defense, and all praise to them for being better there, but Boston's got a hell of a lot of options that Dallas is going to have to deal with, and I don't know what direction they go in terms of trying to stop the multiple scoring options that Boston's got. This is by far the best closeout team at the three-point line that they will have played to this point in the playoffs, and that would have been the same, by the way, if it had been Minnesota that got in. That is what I'm so fascinated by in this series. I have a pretty good feeling what these guys are going to do offensively. The top guys, the top of the food chain guys. I am fascinated to see the impact that Dallas's defense has on Boston, because that is a team that can hit you like a buzzsaw on certain nights. And when they're making a lot of threes, they're almost unguardable. Let's see what this improved Dallas defense has for them, because they've been one of the best in the league for the last 3 months. Boston can't do that mess around and let a game slip away kind of thing that they did in these early series. And they tried to hand one to Indiana. Indiana just couldn't figure out how to take it. Who do you like to win the series? I like Dallas. I'm riding right now the way Luka and Kyrie are playing together, and the talent level there. It's on display in the way they can control the game. Final start in a week on ABC. You will be here. In between now and then, we heading back to the beach? Yeah, I'll go to the beach. Maybe get a round of golf in. It's been a while. I might get one of those in. That's great. I imagine Jersey Shore.
Days off. No days off.
We'll be here. We're following Saul.
I'll be extra sharp for you next Thursday.
My man.